very good evening to you and welcome to Powerbrief. Tonight we do a special edition because the Peace Presbyterian Church of East Africa is celebrating 100 years since the first African elders were ordained. And this evening we are joined by Honorable Jeremiah Kioni, who is the MP for Ndaragwa and is also an elder with Farmers Parish. We are also joined by Honorable Clement Wambugu, former MP Mathioya. He is an elder who has also come on board to take us through what we're going to discuss as far as leadership, church leadership and politics is concerned. We are also joined by Deputy Governor Kiambu County, that is Honorable Joyce Ngugi. She is also an elder at Evergreen Parish PCA Church. Join us on this special edition as we look into this issue. How can someone serve God, upholding integrity, and at the same time they are found on the political corridors of this nation and even beyond? My name is Cornelius Omuse, and remember this conversation is also live on our Facebook page, CAC TV Kenya, and you can also stream live on YouTube, CAC TV Kenya. Karibu sana viongozi to CAC TV and Powerbrief tonight. You're the first elders or leaders who've made it to be here to grace something special in that you're politicians and at the same time you are serving the church. And I'll give you some brief moment maybe to say something as it regards to CAC TV briefly, where it has come from and where it is, beginning with Elder Mbugu, who was here when the baby was born last year on December, last year.
Oh, thank you. My name's Clement Mushiwambugu, former Member of Parliament Mathioya, and a member of this church, the Presbyterian Church of East Africa, serving at Makandara Parish, which is in Nairobi Central Presbytery, Nairobi region, and I'm also serving at the presbytery level, and I'm also a member of the business committee, to thank the church for getting this station running at a time like now, when we are going a difficult period, but the church has been able to utilize the technology to reach out to the people. I think that was a great move that the church took to get the technology to work and help us to reach out to the masses. As we celebrate the 100 years of eldership, I think this is a great moment for the church as we look back what the church has gone through and achieved in the last 100 years, and also to think ahead as elders and the church in general into the 100 years to come. And I think I feel very proud as a member of this church.
Many thanks. Let's hear from Honorable Jeremiah Kioni, whether he's comfortable being here to discuss the topic, what he has for us today as far as the 100-year celebration is concerned.
Yeah, thank you. One again is to say that my name is Jeremiah Kioni, an elder at PCA Kahawa Farmers. The parish is called Kahawa Farmers Parish, which is within Nairobi North Presbytery. And I, as my colleague has said, I'm also delighted that thank God that we are here today, thanking the church for coming up with the idea of a TV station. And I'm sure it has its own impact, and it is a very important step that the church took, and I think one that needs to be supported and encouraged. We have very many TV stations now in this country, and we have a constitution that allows freedom, all these freedoms, including the freedom to media access and even what the media can say. And when that happens, it is always good to make sure that an institution like the church has presence in the industry also, because in so doing, they are also able to influence the narratives that are peddled out there. So as a Christian TV station, you would expect a lot of the narrative. There are sometimes we have some very, very negative narratives, sometimes airlings or views that are really unchristian. But when you have a station of this nature, then you're able to weigh in so that the society is not completely taken off the track as we know it as Christians. So I'm happy and would want to thank the church for that huge step that it took. We are now here again 100 years from the time that the first elder was ordained in the PCA church. I must say that to me that's a history I didn't know, but I'm happy that I am part of it, having been ordained a couple of years ago. And I'm happy to come and share the experiences that we have.
Many thanks, Mheshimiwa. Let's also listen from Dr. Joyce also to give us a piece.
Okay. My name is Dr. Joyce Gogi, serving in Evergreen Church as an elder, which is in Milimani Presbytery, and currently the Deputy Governor of Embu County. I'm also very happy to be included in this forum where we are about to celebrate 100 years of the PCA Church. It's actually a very good thought, and at time as readers we need to sensitize our church members to be partakers in the leadership of our governance, of our government, because they give a lot of shaping with the faith that they have grown with how they've served in church. It is a good extension if it's taken to the world. Therefore, it's a very timely time for us as elders who are in political world to encourage those others that are within us.
Many thanks. Now let's get into these contributions that these elders have made for the past 100 years, and with these I'll be inviting the elder of elders in this panel, that is Honorable Clement Wambugu, and maybe briefly to tell us the role of these elders when someone is being ordained as an elder, or when you stand before people and you tell them that I'm an elder. What does it entail? Who is an elder and what do they do? Then we'll now start looking into the contribution that I've made for the past 100 years to the Presbyterian Church of East Africa.
Thank you. I think I would start from for us to understand the work of an elder and how he's placed in the church, in the structure and how the church is structured. And because the basic unit of the church is the district level, that's a small unit of the church that sits separately at different times other than the normal Sundays. Because at the church level, at the parish, we have got there's a parish, we have got the congregations in different places. After the parish, then we have got the presbytery, which is a group of various parishes combined together. And then thereafter, there is a region which takes care of various presbyteries put together. And then at the headquarters at the top, we've got the Office of the General Assembly, which is assisted by a committee called the Business Committee. Now, if we go down to the basic church, which is the district level, that is where the elder serves. An elder is normally appointed or nominated when elder sit and finds that there is a need, like you find in the Bible, also in the Acts of the Apostles. When the number started growing, then the elders came together, the disciples came together to look for other elders who could help in the church. And that is exactly what the sitting elders at the parish level, which is called, where we've got something called a CAC session, or a session of elders meeting together. They sit and look at all the members they have and look at the people who can be able to serve the elders, the other members. The work of the elder mainly would be pastoral work to the small group called the district, mentoring the people at the grassroots there before they come to the church, assisting the minister in his work. That is one of them mainly, which is very critical in the administration of the Holy Communion, listening out to the problems of the members within that congregation at various districts, and also coming together to help the church at the parish level on developmental issues, assisted by the church congregation. And that elder may be sent from his session to the higher office called the presbytery office, where they will be discussing issues to do with the presbytery and the parishes in general, because an elder is mainly, those serving at the session level and the district level, is ordained by the presbyterism. He is actually, I would not say property, but he's directly under the presbytery.
Many thanks, Elder Clement. Now we come into looking into these contributions, and we want to split it into a number of sections. First, we look into the contributions of these elders that have made to the PCA Church directly. And definitely these contributions usually spills out to the society, in that the church benefits and also the entire society benefits. Now, we will begin from Mheshimiwa Jeremiah Kioni, who will take us through the contribution of the elders for the past 100 years to the church. Then we shall come to the Deputy Governor, who is also an elder, to help us how that contribution of the elders to the church spilled out to the society, as we mention them one by one as we go around, also to Elder Mbugu.
Without doubt, the contribution of the elder in the church has been huge. And as my colleague was saying, is that when one is appointed as an elder, you are able to nurse a smaller group. You have the minister who nurses the whole church. But in between the 7 days, you need somebody who is also closer to the people, closer to the congregation here in Kenya. But it is because of that office that the church has remained intact without it splintering like many other churches have happened. Yet we don't have what is called a bishop. Allow me to say this, that I see Mbugu has brought the what we may call the constitution of the church. And this constitution of the church, I was involved in the making of the constitution for this country. Our constitution, our current constitution 2010, has a lot of resemblance with this constitution of the PC, and I know many Kenyans don't know, including many members of our own church. They wouldn't know that. And it is it's similar in this way, that our constitution, 2010 constitution, has a lot of emphasis on the institution. And we have to continue making the institution stronger, because when the institution becomes stronger, the country becomes more stable and it is able to move forward. PCEA is what it is 120 years later, thereabout, because of the institution. And one of the institutions is the institution of the office of the elder. You can disagree with the office, you can walk out of the office, but the office is left intact. And you cannot make a decision alone. You have to make a decision as a unit. That when you sit in the session that my colleague has said, and you sit as 20, 15, 10, 8 elders, the decision becomes collective. You can never go to the church front and claim that I, Jeremiah Kioni, has said this in this church. So the elders who started this tradition 100 years ago, because we have come to do as they were doing, with very true refinement. In fact, the refining must always be resisted, because you could easily refine to the modern times of technology, and now everybody has a voice. You have WhatsApp, you can say anything you want from your bedroom and communicate it to the world using the WhatsApp. That is something that must be resisted if we want the PCA to continue, and if we want to continue benefiting from that foundation that was laid 100 years ago. So in terms of what did they do, they give us a church that is stable, a church that has very strong foundations, a church that even the moderator of the PCA church, if he doesn't agree with it, he will go, and he can go to any other place of his choosing, but the church will still be left intact. The church continues to grow outside. in the rural areas, even in the urban areas, you see very many new churches being opened up. Those churches are opened up when the eldership is strong in that church, and the eldership is focused and it is not personalized. So this foundation that was given 100 years ago, I don't think I have enough words to thank them. But the way to the thanking of those elders is in the institution that they have given us. We haven't talked about PCA to the world, but PCA is one of the very stable, if not the most stable churches in this country. And the traditions that were kept there, including the way of worship, the way of prayer, the way you conduct yourself when in the church and when outside of the church, has a lot of impact. Let me give you an example, my friend. One of the things that I find very compelling is when I go out to speak to people. And you know, politics is quite confrontational. Mm-hmm. The ability to remain calm in the storms that we have seen in this politics. Mm-hmm. The ability to sit down until the other person finishes speaking and then you speak. This is a culture that has been given to us by the elders who started it.
In fact,
and I'll be
coming there.
I just wanted to conclude this and say, yes, I'll be looking very odd in the eyes of my colleagues or in what I've been taught if I behave differently. This has impacted us in the church. We've been able to take the same culture outside to the political world.
Okay, thanks, Mheshimiwa. Actually, you tell us towards the end, all of you,
all right,
how do you manage to contain your calmness whenever someone ameamka anasema, you know, Mheshimiwa Jeremiah Kioni, jana nilikuona mahali, and which you know it's not true. Alafu, how do you manage to balance the two in the church? Madam DG, on the part of the society, when you sit at Evergreen Church or in your house in the evening watching CAC TV programs, as you meditate back and look at what the elders have contributed towards the positive growth of the society, what are some of these things that you stand tall and say that, look here, when I look at ABCD, this is the work of elders of PCA for the past 100 years?
Thank you. I want to say that once when we are choosing elders in the church, there are some qualities that we look at. Somebody has leadership qualities and also has a passion to serve. And this passion may not only be within the church, it's somebody who has a passion to serve humanity. And with those two qualities, therefore, they are not only esteemed in the church. We find that even in the society where we live, when you interact and there are activities going on, many people will tend to choose the elder to represent something. This is a church elder can be. Where there are groups who will read this, most of the time you'll find an elder is given leadership outside there to lead other issues outside the church because of the qualities that they have. And like my colleague has said, what we've been taught and how the PP has taught us in a very disciplined manner, it is the same thing that we act outside there within the other society as issues are being carried. There you find that, for example, during this pandemic, I found so many elders were out there serving children homes with food. They're the ones that read those kind of services to change the society. They're the ones that will read where there are vulnerable groups because they have the passion to serve. Where they are given the leadership qualities, I tell you, where you give those elders because of that PP, their leadership is very good and they tend to guide the society in a very organized manner. As our church says, tunasemaga mutaratara, the PPs, in a very organized manner. Therefore, they have impacted the society from the seed that they found from the church to be organized, to grow at a greater height. And where I can tell you where they are in political fields, they carry the same. I'm a bit younger than them and I've seen them serving. You know, I look at Dakioni and I remember one time we went to his constituency. We were doing presidential campaigns and shouting all over. We were in the group called Tanotena. And and we actually agreed Mheshimiwa because we wanted to embrace people who are everywhere, all the candidates, and he was the Jubilee candidate. And he kind of got annoyed. But I could really observe, look at them, he can't remember that, but really I can't see. But you could see the way he encountered that group in a very organized manner. He was really trying to fight with his temper. He really fought a battle. That even today I still remember. That he fought his battle to exist and to make us recognize and respect he's a Jubilee candidate. And I could see the eldership in him. I've seen him observe and admired his calmness. He's very calm. I wouldn't say I've gone so much, but I want to see where I started vying. I vied in Gatundu South, where we have one of the very many, most noisy member of parliament who I was contesting with. And were it not for the virtues and what I've learned and what I've been made by my PCA church, I could be able to encounter that person. I look at him and I don't reply to him. I will carry on. I have carried on. I've carried on throughout and I don't fear him because I have something within me that I've grown in the church. Now to see this is the seed we have goes to the society and you'll see people admiring how we have carried ourselves.
Many thanks.
Many things.
Daktari Joyce. I keep on calling you Daktari because of your singing as a doctor, so Daktari. Now, elder of elders within the show, you'll have to close this chapter of the immense contributions of the elders for the past 100 years, both in the church and to the society.
Thank you again. I think let me also start again with something that we're talking Presbyterian, which comes from the word presbyter. And presbyter is elder. So when you hear somebody say Presbyterian, that is something based on the presbyter or the elder, and the elder is the foundation of the unit or the church. So the Presbyterian Church of East Africa is a church which is run with the foundation of an elder. Back in 1920, sometimes in September, the first elders were ordained into the church. And one of the first things that happened thereafter, after some time, I think after 6 years, some of those elders are the ones who are also ordained as ministers. So after working a lot as elders, they were trained to be ministers. I would say that was the first bit into the formation of the church within East Africa. Many things, like Jeremiah had said, where you find the churches coming up. What would normally happen is the local parish would see the need of reaching out to the communities, and especially the ones which are not served. Elders within that parish are the ones sent out to go and start those churches and stand and grow the contribution, grow the congregation within that area. I would say a time like now, when I'm serving at the business committee, I've been chairing the National Boundary Committee, and when I go out to the villages and to find the work that is being done by the elders is immense and tremendous. And as we go forwards, because I would say the work that's been done by those people, the Gatos and all the other people who are there, and a time like now, how they brought up their children, because I understand one of his children is still a very strong member of this church. It is so much that if had it not been for those people, we would not be where we are. I met some of the old elders, like even that one, Kivashia. I've met others called Stanley Kimodo, old people who even up to now, when you meet with them and stay with them and talk to them, you find the things that have been done by those people in this country, not even the church, even this country, is immense. The foundation and the drafting of this constitution, the practice and procedure, because this is what we have as our constitution. Like Elder Keone has said, most of the items and the articles in the national constitution, the constitution we talk about 2010, are borrowed from this document. And it is the elders and the ministers who sit together to get this document together. As I conclude, why has the church been able to stand the way it is? It is because when an elder is elected or nominated to serve, he remains within his presbytery or within his parish all his life, and they are not transferred.
Many things.
So that continuity, I think, is the one that has given this church a very strong foundation, because our ministers are employees and most of the times they are being transferred from one place to the other. But the elders are there to follow up. So they have a continuity of the services and also maintain the church history and even all the information that would be required about the church.
Thanks a lot. We go for a quick commercial break. Tonight we are doing a special edition, the 100 years since the first African elder was ordained by the Presbyterian Church of East Africa. We are joined by Joyce Ngugi, Honorable, who is the Deputy Governor, Kiambu County, and also MP Clement Wambugu, former Maigioya MP, and Honorable Jeremiah Kioni, the current Member of Parliament for Ndarago constituency. Keep on engaging us on Power Brief as we continue bringing out the role of the elders and how politicians, the leaders in the political world and those in the church can work together harmoniously.
Declaring the word of the Lord, behold he comes, riding on the clouds, shining like the sun. At the trumpet call, lift your voice, the year of Jubilee.
Are you looking to grow a business? CAC TV offers you a variety of advertising opportunities to suit your budget. Advertise with us today and reach your potential customers countrywide. For more information, email us on sales@cactv.org or call 0794 588 054.
With COVID-19 pandemic, there are emerging issues. Relationships, family issues, emotional challenges like anxiety and depression, lack of basic necessities like food, house rent, and such. This is the reality on the ground. And therefore, even with the eventual reopening of the economy, it's not going to be a grand comeback, but rather we need to be ready for a gradual process of recovery.
Consequently, the need for sustained mission to the needy remains. So far, we have been able to reach to 32,000 families through the Adopt a Family initiative. We appreciate everyone who has contributed to this effort through the paybill number and through the local churches across the country in relieving the suffering of thousands.
God giving us another day, we appeal to you to continue partnering with PCA Mission Department by expressing our extraordinary kindness. For kindness goes with hospitality, and hospitality has a great reward.
And therefore it is amazing how you've continued to support us in this mission of love and kindness. And I urge and humbly ask all of you to continue contributing in kind through our churches and also through our paybill number 689549. The account name, you still put your name. Let us continue demonstrating our unusual kindness at these unusual times. God bless you all.
Welcome back, and many thanks for tuning in to Power Brief tonight as we look into the past 100 years since an African was actually ordained as an elder within the Presbyterian Church of East Africa. Tonight we have a privilege because we have three honorables. These are people who serve in church at a highest capacity of elders, and at the same time they have served, like Elder Wambugu has served initially in crucial committees in Parliament in the Republic of Kenya. And currently we have Honorable Jeremiah Kioni, who is in the Special Committee of Constitutional Implementation Oversight Committee. We also have the Deputy Governor, Honorable Ngugi, all the way from Kiambu County Government, who are here to help us to look back and look at where we are and also offer guidance on what should be done in future with elders and the role of church in governance. Viongozi waheshimiwa elders, before we went for a break, we had actually looked into what is all about eldership, their contributions, and you have really exhausted that part so well. But also remember, we have a generation currently, and there is that generation that is coming. And things are never same. Even when you read the Bible, it will talk about the early church, and sometimes we compare ourselves with the early church and what is even happening in the present or the modern day church. There are these things, unique things that used to be there with the earliest elders in the past 100 years that is so emulatable that maybe currently it is there or the rates are really gone so low. Beginning with the Mheshimiwa Kioni, what are some of these things, emulatable ones, that you really feel if it continues, it will really contribute to the stability of the church from those past elders?
Allow me to answer that question this way. That when we were being ordained a little bit, I think we were almost like the transitional group of elders, where the church would be looked at and perhaps accused of not having an evangelism approach. And I know we even came up with or the committee was a little bit earlier maybe, we got an evangelism committee. Even there was some attempt in the church to change the mode of worship to become more evangelical, to look like we were doing more of the things that are done in other churches, like in the evangelicals and Pentecostals and the rest. But I've always looked back and seen this institution of the elders, or this office of the elder in this way. Many, and you can actually say to the tune of 60% of the churches that have sprung out or have come into being after we got independence, and much more during perhaps Moi's second president term, the Moi's era, a little bit of it during Kenyatta's era, because we are talking about history. You see that many of the churches that came into being during that second president's term were actually formed by former members of the PCEA church. A good number of those churches are led by people who've been elders before. And there was a little bit of frowning at what is happening. Why are people going out? But looking back, you'll actually see this office of the elder, the PCA elder, what it has done to Christianity in this country. It has actually helped evangelize the whole country. Because of that foundation, that training an elder has been given, or the foundation and the training that members of the church are given by the elders, the ruling and the teaching elder. Because you have the teaching elder in the name of the ministers and the ruling elders in the name of ordained elders, has helped a lot in establishing very many churches in this country. There are many places you go and you hear people saying, I was a former member of PCA. You'll hear them saying, Mimi Nimuti Mtaratara. So even the way they model their churches, they are still trying to model them around the same Mtaratara. So some of those qualities that those elders had have really been used to grow the Christian faith in this country by the fact that they have been embraced by people outside the PCEA church. And one of the things that you can always talk about those elders is that they were very strict in their family, the way they would look at the family. The families were like brought up in a very strict manner. There were people who were very prayerful. You would find them helping in prayers in many places. There are also people who commanded respect within the church and outside of the church. So there are people, even if it's not the political leadership that we are in today, you'd find them in other forms of leadership. The cooperative movement that was strong, very strong, and especially the region where the church is strong, Mount Kenya region. You also find that they're also in the leadership of the cooperative movement. So they were always like anchors of where there was some aspect of good governance. Areas where you would want to have a lot of trust in terms of management, not just of the affairs of the people, but even management of resources. You cannot be an elder if you have, it's not necessarily political leadership, but if there is no leadership in you, you are an elder because you can be able to take people to, even in terms of worship, to another level, in terms of how they view things, to another level. And these are qualities that have also been, qualities you find very useful in the outside world, outside the church. So, it is the same kind of thing that you now see with the elders that we have today. I had a series of meetings in my constituency last weekend, and there was one meeting I had with all the pastors that I had called them together, and I started by telling them who is an elder in PCA. To them, I'm an ordained elder in the church of Presbyterian Church of East Africa. And for you to be as ordained and an elder, these are the things that are looked at. The ordained elder and the ordained minister in the church share the same kind of qualities. So you as ministers of the church, because we are ministers of the church, we are elders, and we have the Bible as the one guiding us all, I think you've gone out of the way. This is not the way a pastor behaves. A pastor should not be seen leading a demonstration in the streets. We never saw the elders that came before us doing those things. A pastor will not be seen carrying a bango. What are these things called? Banners. You are supposed to be a person who can approach authority and bring out the issues that are affecting the people. And I saw a number of ministers in my area behaving in a manner that I could not forget about the issues of politics. The issues that I was seeing them doing they were completely out of a Christian person, an elder, a pastor, because you cannot be a pastor if you have no qualities of an elder. So I was able to challenge the whole of the fraternity, and I have another series of meetings coming, to challenge them and ask them, really, if this is what we are doing, we are soon going to be looking worse than the ordinary people. And how would I be able to do that? Because of the training that is in me of what an elder is expected to do, and what I saw the elders, how I saw the elders behave those days. And I must tell you that Musa is that in the midst of that, I never came across an elder from the PCA's church in those groupings, doing those things. So there is a lot. We may just be looking at what did these elders do, or what has the office of the eldership done to other elders in the PCEA church. But I want to confirm to you that, and perhaps surprise many, that office has impacted heavily on the mode, the character, and the way of behaving of even ordinary people and other leaders outside of the church. That's not to say that we should all run flocking the political platform. You will get it wrong.
Let's hear from Madam DG before we invite Elder to usher in another segment. People are usually very sensitive about gender, and even in our societal setup, you realize that when the name Elder is mentioned, there's usually that relationship between an elder and a man, in this context, a male person. So briefly tell us also, in the part of elders, the contribution that they have had for the past 100 years, those women who sat in the committee of elders, and you feel that women have played a great role also, or there's something that needs to be done as far as gender inclusion is concerned with the issue of elders in the church.
Okay, thank you. I want to say that PC's church has tried to be gender sensitive. When we became as elders, we met that there were also women elders, and I think this began long time ago, but I would not fail to challenge them to add more. And I think once we are in the sessions and we have the two genders, men and women, we kind of assist one another. We complete one another, because men and women are differently gifted, despite that they are all readers. Women will have their own kind of special gifts, like the motherly gifts. Therefore, they are able to remember mostly the issues of humanity are carried on by the women, and men are too much gifted on developmental issues and big things. Therefore, when we are discussing issues together, there is that assisting on one another and completing issues together. The women will guide on the issues they are attracted to, and the men will guide on the issues they are attracted to, and together as one, they are able to carry out the issues of the church well. I know you'll find men who will contribute more. Like when we are building the churches, they have their ideas most, but then women will also remember. We need to cook for people, we need to look at the children homes, we need to look at the age and all that, and which is also part that completes the whole service that the church needs to give. Therefore, it's very important when we have the two genders together, and even in the leadership outside there, the women will carry out their laws and their passion out there with them. And I would say that even in the political arena, we are also beginning that we have more women to lead, and even if they come from the church, it would be much better, because as we are talking about the training that we have, we've extended out there that women come from even eldership to serve outside on the political arena, much the better, and the guiding of the country and the way issues to be handled would be much better. And then I want to say this, me as a woman who has served in church, who has served in the political arena with very many challenges as a woman, because it goes as with challenges and the questions many. But I want to say the guiding point. Even when you go through insults, we go through a lot of insults. But as a Christian and as an elder, what I have really helped me to go through them. Because I always say I'm answerable to God, not to man. And I always look at what does God think about this issue whenever I'm handling it. What does God want you to do in this one? And what we have learned and been trained have really helped some of us like me to survive in this political world and to handle issues. And people will always they always keep on asking, how do you make it?
Actually, that is good.
But the strength comes from the training in the church.
Of politics.
Yes.
There are two people who are usually highly doubted.
Can I just add something
Yes,
before you
briefly.
very briefly, by saying that the difference that needs to be seen in an issue that he has brought in on the issue of gender, the big difference between the way we are addressing the issues of gender at the national level and how the church has addressed the issue of gender is that they have not picked women in the church because of just the mere need to have presence of gender in their discussions. But it is a question of women who have even displayed better quality leadership than men. So it is not just a question of being a woman, but women who are actually leaders. And you'll come across women, yes, who have the human things, or the human touch, that motherly touch, but those who have listened to the leadership of the whole church, and they are embraced by men, perhaps even more than the men in the session, for the reason that it is the quality of the leadership in that person, as opposed to the quality of the leadership in that gender, that the church has always gone for. How I wish, as a country, we could look for the quality of the leadership in that person, irrespective of whether it's a skirt or a trouser. In any case, we are wearing trousers. So we should only be looking at the quality of the mind, less on the issue of
gender.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. There is something here, and as I said earlier, there are two categories of people who are usually highly doubted by the society. One is a lawyer, another one is a politician. When a lawyer stands up and says that I'm saved or I'm a Christian, people are wanaanza hiyo. Wanasema ama lawyer ni wakora. That's a topic for another day. Maybe are you a lawyer, sir?
Yes, I combine all of the three.
Now you will say something
Lawyer,
on that so later on.
elder.
And also politicians. At some point I was participating in student politics, and having come from the church, I faced a difficult moment because everyone was saying, this is not meant for people in church. And there is that part you wish to tell the church and also the society at large, if it is possible, or what it means to have someone who is a leader in the church, an elder, or just person who fears God in church, and at the same time they're able to serve in the political arena, and Elder Wambugu will be ushering in this part.
Thank you. First, in the church, PCA, when it comes to eldership, we don't have issues to do with gender. Men and women serving in the church, the ones who have been ordained are elders. And also to let you know that the whole is modeled on the early church, because I know many people don't know that there are also women leaders in the Bible. We've got the Lydias, we've got others in the Old Testament. All of them served in the church diligently in various capacities. And I think that is what the church model that we have. Earlier on, I think we were talking about the impact of the old church members, elders into the church and the country. You might, these people have mentioned a lot about Mutaratara. Mutaratara actually is an order, because this is a church of order. Everything is going to be done in a particular order, and that maintains discipline. When you have something which is orderly, then there is discipline, and that is the discipline that you see in these leaders, especially the ones who have come to PCA and now they are in political leadership. I don't want to say that they are politicians. There is the political leadership, but normal politicians who go making noise all over. You had asked about the church leadership and elders and the normal politicians outside there. If I can tell you, it is not because of the position of being a politician that makes somebody change. It is the individual, depending on how he's been brought up, that is displayed even when you see some of the people on various platforms. And that is why I come back to the church to look at how we can be grooming and also nurturing future leaders, because we can be able to identify some of these people from the small groups that we have in the church groups. When they go to a certain level and they want to get into public leadership, and let us not call it politics, because when you say politics is just something which has been branded by people when they want to do the bad things and use the bad language. Let us talk of public leadership, and from that we can be able to get good leaders for this country. We have very many elders and very many Christians who can be able to perform that task. But for you to be a good leader, you must have the qualities of godliness. If you have that, you'll be able to go very far. And that is what was in our elders of the past. These leaders, or these elders and the Christians, who are genuine Christians, because it is not all of us who say we are Christians, we are inside our hearts and spiritually. If we can be able to get those type of leaders who are spiritual, who are godly, then we can have good political leaders. In the PCA, because of that virtue of godliness and being visionary, that is why you find the PCA leading in areas to do with education, because that was one of the foundations of the church, to educate people so that they can be able to understand and analyze and be able to run their own affairs. That is one of them. That is why we also came up. They came up with issues to do with personal health. And that is why you hear in the whole country, I think PCA is the one that is leading in missionary hospitals. We've got Tomo, we've got Kikuyu Hospital to serve the individual's needs, because when you're getting to tell somebody about Christianity or even any other leadership without the basic needs, you're not going anywhere.
That's very true. Elder, time is really catching up with us, and I will not be fair if I leave Madam DG and also Mheshimiwa outside. I know there is one thing that Mheshimiwa may not forgive me, though I know he is a forgiver if I'll fail to bring him to talk about briefly as we come to the end. But before then, let's also briefly get the view of Madam DG as far as political leadership. How do you manage to balance outside there with coming from the church as an elder, and also your message to the Presbyterian family as they mark 100 years of Elders Week?
How I manage, I want to say that, like I said, what guides me is my relationship with God. That is the greatest guiding factor in everything I do, whether I'm going to do it in the church or I'm going to do it in the political world. And the training I went through as a leader in the church, that is as an elder, really gives me a lot of guidelines. You know, in the political world especially, there is a lot of mixed things, like there is a lot of bad talking, discriminations, and there is a lot of sometimes cheating, injustices. But that guiding factor of who we are and who we are serving, and I believe when I serve people there outside there as a politician, and service, we say service to God, it's service to humanity, service to God. That guides me very much, and I feel when I'm serving people there, even right now at Kiambu, I'm serving God, I'm serving as an elder, and I'll not say we are best, but we try very much to carry yourself as a servant of God out there,
Many
even
things.
whatever you're doing.
Madam DG,
Yes.
Honorable Jeremiah Kioni, I understand right now the temperatures of the country is breathing in something called BBI, and at some point there are two bills which came and actually brought a stalemate. That is the one you brought from the Constitutional Implementation Oversight Committee, and the other one that the MP Cheptumo brought on board. You'll mention towards the end as you wind up, but how do you also manage to handle the two, and also your parting shot to the church?
I think one of the things I will say is that your mind must always be clear
Yes.
as to what did you go to do in politics. And I thank God because I've never lost that. And why I went into politics because I wanted to do politics differently. I wanted to influence things differently. And even today, if I find an issue, that always guides me. And I always have it in my mind that first and foremost, there is God. I am an ordained elder of a church, and I have people I represent. And when we got into Parliament, and unfortunately I don't think you have enough time for the things that we can help Kenyans with. One of the things that took me to Parliament was Mugiki. The way young people were being treated by the Moi government, I felt it was bad, and I felt hurt, And I decided one of the things I'll do when I go to Parliament is to deal with the issues of Mugeki. And I set to form a committee in Parliament. We used to call them parliamentary select committees, which I went around the country. I picked Mheshimiwa Mbogo as one of my members. We went around this country, and we did not just address the issue of Mugeki, but we addressed the issues of Sungu Sungu, Shinkororo, Baghdad Boys, Jeshi la Mzee, all those groups. We eventually came up with a law, the gang, I think we call it criminal gangs law, that was we did together with Professor Saitoti, the late, God bless his soul in eternal peace. And I tell you, that law helped this country stop the shooting of young people from behind. From that day, we stopped having young people dumped in Kitegera, Gong, and everywhere. So that was because I went there and said, yes, these are young people, but as a Christian, are we doing the right thing? So I went in and used the law, used the government to bring some sanity as a Christian. Shortly thereafter, we were involved in this process. We don't have time to make the constitution. Before I went to do the constitution at Naivasha, I remember I went through the church and I told the minister, I am going to Naivasha to do some divine work. I want the church to pray for me and to pray for the constitution making process at Naivasha. We prayed at Kahawa Farmers as a church. As I was in Naivasha and negotiating all the clauses in the constitution, it was always in me that I'm here to do some divine work. We are now having many other issues here, and I want to say this. My colleague has mentioned it, has come out from the Deputy DG. Order. You hear even in Parliament, it is order. It's screamed in the National Assembly or the 47 counties. Anywhere where there is no order, you cannot go anywhere. This church started with order. That is why we are called Mutaratara. The major contribution to the management of affairs in this country. You cannot do anything if there is no order. When we are now in the CIOC, we have had bills coming from every corner. And I remember even when I was learning as a deputy president with Musalia Mudavadi, I was invited to a PCMF fellowship in Mombasa. And I went to talk to the men. I must register my displeasure or some little bit of disappointment because I did quite see what I expected. I expected to find men who were composed and would reason out and see what is this that our colleague is saying. But they quickly dismissed me as just another politician. I don't carry any grudge against them, and I know there was quite a bit of we had allowed ourselves to be carried by the emotions of the day, but we never posed. Not that we were looking for something different, but I wish we had an opportunity to discuss that. But what I wanted to say, what I wanted to say is this, because I think it's also important to mention. Now that I mentioned the issue of 2013, the whole country again was spinned, and what was the spin is that Elder Honorable Jeremiah Kioni did not vote for his presidential candidate. That was one of the most hurtful moments in this country. I am an elder, and I have sued, by the way. I have sued, and I wouldn't want to add you as one of the people I want to sue. And the judgment is coming out soon. Because why did I go to court? Because of that aspect of being an elder. I must let the whole world know that I cannot allow myself to be that deceitful. Once you are in political leadership, you should never forget that you are ordained for life. You must carry it with you. We have now the issue of BBI. We have the issue that I am sharing. Why did I go and chair the CIOC? It is where you influence the lives of Kenyans in the whole of Parliament. If you want to influence the life of Kenyans in form of governance, it is in the CIOC. It is the only committee that has the mandate to influence the rights of Kenyans by dealing with the constitution. So, leadership in politics as an elder, you need to have perhaps a bigger mind and a global mind. And I want to urge our church that when they see us around, they should not dismiss us as just ordinary politicians who they think are going to insult everybody. We actually feel insulted by our own church when they fail to even recognize that we have sacrificed, made an extra sacrifice beyond them by going out to a very hostile environment, but to carry on with the gospel out there. I have seen even church ministers thinking that this politician is coming to waste our time. And when you go out, you actually hear murmurs from the congregation saying, why is it that the minister refused to give this one an opportunity to speak to us?
Sure.
We will talk to them politics, but we'll talk to them politics from the right point of view, a religious point of view, a point of serving God. We want the church to walk with us on this.
Thank you very much, Mheshimiwa. Thank you very much, Honorable Clement Wambugu and Madam DG. They've taken their ample time out of a calm tone explaining to us the role of the church, the history of the 100 years of elders of the Presbyterian Church of East Africa. If time could allow, we could really proceed, because as elders, they are full of wisdom. And you see, when elders have spoken, then no one else can speak. Even myself, I'm just doing this to conclude the show. But as we promised, Honorable Jeremiah Kioni has given an indication that he will be available with his team of the Constitutional Implementation Oversight Committee as a debate of the change of the Constitution is actually across Kenya. Also, Honorable Wambugu and Madam DG have also pledged their commitment towards seeing that they are able to unite the church and the so-called political world to see that there is not those bad feelings, hatred, or some form of myths and misconceptions. We appreciate your overwhelming responses on our social media platforms. For me, Cornelius Omuse, I wish you a very good night.
Declaring the word of the Lord.